Yeah, that takes me back. That transports me to the Manly West Primary School percussion section in the school band, the triangle, little timbo glockenspiel.
For a second then I thought you were like Manly West's rugby league.
No.
Because that was a match.
No, it wasn't. Anyway, hello and welcome to the CarsGuide Podcast, where we tear down, pressure test and rebuild the issues of the automotive week. I'm James and with me are Richard.
Hi.
And Matt.
G'day.
This week, among other things, we'll look at fresh ponies, hard-working rams, and an electric vehicle named after a fiddling Roman emperor. So, Stay with us. But first, Muskwatch. Okay, Elon's missing another self-imposed deadline.
Right.
It's not a big thing.
No.
It's just the plan to send 2 people round the moon by the end of the year.
Not a big thing.
That's looking doubtful.
It's a bit of a trip.
It is a bit of a trip.
Yeah.
Look, he's not saying it's off. He's just been optimistic again with the timing. So a couple have allegedly already paid their dough up front.
Right.
They were going to get in the top of a SpaceX candle. They were going to light it, send it up around the moon, come back before the end of this year. Not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Were they expecting it to happen?
Yeah. Oh, look, at some stage, I think in his quieter moments.
Yeah.
Elon was saying, yeah, that'll happen. That'll happen.
Good on
anyway.
him.
But look, speaking of his quieter moments, because this week at Tesla's annual shareholder meeting, crazy Elon admitted that he has a problem with time. I'm sure he's been working on time travel, but it's more in this dimension.
Yeah.
And, that he explained that he has a tendency to set and miss production targets.
Yeah.
And it's fundamentally because he's a naturally optimistic person. He just thinks things are going to come together perfectly. In fact, better than perfectly.
Yeah.
Because the production targets he set are ludicrous.
Absolutely. You mean, I've seen interviews with his staff, with his chief executives of his various companies like SpaceX, and I've forgotten her name right now, but she said, look, he does set really, really impossible targets to hit. Yeah. And her job is to try and get somewhere near them. And we had the head of production go on a sabbatical on leave from the
he just wanted to take some time off. It was good timing.
He wasn't carried out at all.
No.
Mumbling to himself.
But speaking of that, the Bloomberg Model 3 production tracker sitting at 2560.
Okay.
We've got 2 weeks to get to 6,000.
They're not going to do it.
No, it's a bit of a stretch target.
No. This is just another example of
It's just Elon's a naturally optimistic person.
No, he's a bad manager is what he is.
So when he says he has a problem with time, it's really, I've got a problem with reality.
Yeah,
that's not time.
That's exactly it.
That's why he's got SpaceX, because he is literally a star child. So anyway, moving on. Matt and Richard, you've both driven the new Ford Mustang, but in different parts of the world.
Yep.
Matt, you're in Europe. Richard, you're in Australia.
Yep.
Matt, chronologically, you drove it first.
I did.
We've got the story and your video up on the
Yes.
site. What's your impression?
My biggest standout impression is I love the fact that you get a sports exhaust as standard on 4-cylinder and V8. The 4-cylinder comes in a couple of months' time, but the V8 is arrived. I mean, obviously that's the majority of sales in Australia, and it makes sense for them to focus on that car here.
Yeah.
But it's got a quiet start mode. So you can set a timer between, say, 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. if you know you're going to get up early every day. It'll remember that it should start quietly.
Fine.
So instead of going vroom, it sort of goes.
Great.
So,
How does that go again?
It doesn't have remote start, does it?
Don't know. Don't think so.
Anyway.
Does it? Someone steals it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
But
that's
yeah,
very
I mean,
neighbourly of it.
That's not my. I mean, that's my biggest impression about. Like, I think that's really smart. I think that it could put some aftermarket manufacturers of exhausts out of business because there's been a lot of people that buy Mustangs that go and get a sports exhaust fitted. This is a variable system. You've got 4 different modes you can choose from. There's all these different drive modes and stuff. I was really impressed with the MagneRide suspension when I was driving it in Europe. It's really well sorted. The adaptive damping system works really well.
Yep.
It's more of a clinical tool than it was in this generation, and compared to the facelifted model, the pre-facelifted model. But yeah, I was pretty impressed. But as we all know, the safety stance isn't great.
Richard, it's got a little more power and torque, but it's only stepped up a little bit in terms of the safety.
That's right, 33 more kilowatts of power and 26 newton meters more torque.
That's better than a poke in the eye.
Top of, I think, 556 newton meters and something like 339 kilowatts.
Something like that.
Plenty of grunt. And I'm quite happy to say that you can break traction in first, second, third, and fourth and fifth gear in this car on a racetrack,
on ice.
of course.
Yeah.
On a racetrack.
Okay, on a racetrack.
We tested it at Tailem Bend, at the new racetrack there called The Bend. A pristine racetrack, completely unspoilt until we arrived. And I put a set of 11s on it, which basically go down the entire main straight.
Fantastic.
It's a good car.
Great.
From that perspective. But yeah, look, from a safety perspective, a little bit disappointing. In January 2017, it was given a 2-star ANCAP rating.
ANCAP, yeah. Out of 5.
Out of 5. Ford have gone a long way to addressing that. They've added AEB and forward collision warning and lane keeping assistance. But it's only bumped it up to 3, and that's because there's an issue, well, not an issue, but the structure of the car means that rear occupant protection and particularly child protection is pretty average in the back there.
I would say it's an issue. It's a 4-seat car, and people in the back will likely die if they are involved in a crash.
Well,
that's an issue.
Look, you know, it is an issue, but it's also an illegal issue.
Yeah.
So I think. I think Ford are very well aware of it, and God, their Ford Transit has been given a 5-star ANCAP rating.
This is the problem with ANCAP ratings.
That's right.
I mean, I don't think the Ford Mustang should have back seats. That's the first point.
Yep.
The second point, because it does have back seats, it's considered that it needs to have the same level of safety as a family car.
Yeah.
And then you get a Ford Transit which has optional AEB, not standard.
That's right.
And it's got no curtain airbag protection because there's no back seats. But, you know, surely you're going to be safer if you've got 1.5 meters of bonnet in front of you instead of 30 centimetres.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, in a big crash, it just doesn't make sense.
All right, well, look, we can't redesign the Mustang here. No. We must move on. So I would say also on the performance theme, we have a story where a Cadillac CT5 has been spotted in camo testing in Victoria. Now, there's one argument that says, okay, Holden is testing a lot of US product, including pickups and all kinds of things, and their camouflage, left-hand drive, etc. There's another more interesting school of thought that said, HSV, come on down. You know, here's a rear-wheel drive, 4.2 litre V8, twin turbo. Wouldn't that be kind of interesting to add into the local mix?
Absolutely. Mustang and Ford in Australia have actually said the biggest issue with the Mustang is that it doesn't have a competitor.
Yeah.
And although this Cadillac would not be a direct competitor because it's a big four-door car,
still a pretty muscly rear-wheel drive.
That's it. Holden doesn't have a muscle car, performance car.
And HSV's about to get the Chevrolet Camaro, and they're not going to rebadge it as a Holden. They're going to keep it as Chevrolet. Cadillac, what's one extra badge under the HSV umbrella? I think it's a really solid proposition.
It's interesting, isn't it? Anyway, let's see if it emerges. And speaking of American product in this market, Jeep has said that it's going to extend the whole Trackhawk treatment. You know, it's got the crazy Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk to other models. My mind immediately went to a Hemi-powered Renegade. You know, wouldn't it be fun? Just not a big one, just the 5.7 litre Hemi in the nose of that little Renegade.
That would be awesome.
Amazing.
I love that Jeep of the anti-Tesla.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? They are fully going down the fossil fuels route.
It's like the heart attack hamburger. I've made a decision. I don't care about it. I'm going full fat.
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm going to take up smoking.
Yeah. That's right. It fully is the full fat hamburger.
It's fantastic.
I love it.
So, but I'm more intrigued about what other models in their range they could do a Trackhawk to, because they're doing the Trailhawk thing across most of them.
And a Desert Hawk is another hawk that's coming out of the clouds.
Yeah, they've got a real thing for birds.
They've got hawks.
They do.
All over.
And
They're
eagles.
Freedom birds.
Golden eagles.
Golden eagles.
Oh, my God.
But I can see maybe the Cherokee being the next most logical option. You know, it's smaller. I don't know whether a V8 is going to work in a car like that.
Anything's possible.
Maybe they can borrow something from the FCA group.
Look, happily, all things are on the table, and you're right, Richard. They're quite crazy. So you wouldn't want to apply logic to it.
No.
Anything could come out of left field, which is great.
Totally. What about a Wrangler?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trackhawk Wrangler.
That could be a thing.
Yeah. Grid up for a club day.
Totally.
On the circuit in your Wrangler.
Rip the doors off, make it squat.
We're off. That would be awesome.
But look, talking of speed and quality, now some wonderful words from our friends at Winton.
Australian performance drivers love their cars, and the performance car they love the most is the one that's done it all. From the Mount Panorama Winners Circle to your driveway, all roads lead to Winton. The 2018 Winton Turbo now features an even more potent version of the powerhouse Redback 2-stroke V9 Turbo, backed up by the latest generation version of our patented torque tumbler transmission technology. Once you eye it and try it, we guarantee you'll buy it. Australia's Winton Turbo. Inspiration is standard.
Torque tumbler transmission available at extra cost. Wheels and tyres sold separately. Batteries not included. Consult your Winton dealer for final pricing.
Right. Just refreshes you, doesn't it? It's nice to think that, we've got a fantastic brand like that still happening in Australia.
It's like a mint in the mouth.
But it does open up the question. Our mate Frosty.
Minton.
Where is he? I can tell you, having spoken to him recently, we talk on him.
Is that him?
We tell. No, he's not here.
Oh, no, that's not.
Of course he's not.
He's jumped out of the Roseanne Bar fry pan into the Barnaby Joyce fire. So, look, they're old mates. And Frosty's been moonlighting as Barnaby's media advisor. And obviously it's all going very well.
Well, what was his cut out of the 150?
Yeah, well, he set that up. He set that interview up.
He did.
Maybe he got
worked the
150
angles
as
in the
well.
background.
Yeah. Well, word is that Vicky's baby is Frosty.
Oh,
I mean, that's just
wow.
the rumour.
That's a
the
bridge
rumour.
too far.
That's the rumour.
I've heard that rumour too, but we're not going to go there. Look, Barnaby will be back on the front bench in no time with Frosty in his corner. That much is clear.
Yeah, meanwhile, Frosty's on the back bench.
Exactly. All right. Look, sticking with the FCA
so to
theme,
speak.
Ram has said it is going to build a Hilux-sized ute by 2022. And I say, bring it on.
Yeah.
We've got so much activity in that space with all of the Japanese brands as well as Ford and Chinese brands, and the dual cab ute is the coming thing. And the pickup trucks in the States under the Ram badge and some of the low volume ones that we've got here are all immense. So to have something in that size category would be great.
Yeah, I reckon so. And, it won't be stopped. It's the Jeep sort of phenomenon, it'll have a stupid V8 engine and people will go, this is the HSV replacement. This is the real actual muscle man ute.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Why has Australia never adopted the F truck fully and those big trucks?
It's been on sale here
over
time, but not on a consistent basis.
But we've loved their American cars, and we were a big car culture.
Sure.
So why were we never a big truck culture?
I don't know.
It's
Let us
probably-
know. Let us know.
It's
What are your
probably
thoughts?
a matter of just extra cost. That,
Maybe.
building them in right-hand drive's too expensive. It adds complications to the production process.
Yep.
They can sell 1.1 million of them in America in a year without any other market. That's
right.
they're
They don't
amortizing
need
the
to.
costs
That's the equivalent
within
of every
6
car
weeks.
sold in the Australian market being an F-150.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That was that really was an amazing figure.
Yeah.
That they sell as many F trucks as they do cars in Australia.
Yeah.
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 But
It's nuts.
so Ram is going to build that, and they've also said they're going to put I think it was called TRX concept from 2016, which is a tough full-size pickup, which is their F-150 Raptor competitor. They're going to put that in production. So it's all just going mad on horsepower, big high-riding trucks, and they're going to do a Hilux-sized one as well.
Is this our last
mad
fossil
gasp
fuel
of fossil fuels?
go before we all have to ride bicycles
If you got them,
or electric
use
cars?
use it up
Yeah,
fast.
yeah.
Why not? Have a bit of a burst.
Don't save it.
And it's gone.
Don't save it.
Yeah.
And we've seen, the appetite for utes is not abating. And, last month, the HiLux was again the biggest seller. Our ute review that we've done recently is going absolutely gangbusters. People are loving watching utes doing ute things, which is fantastic.
Utes doing
and
ute
it's
things.
it's such a virtuous circle, isn't it? Because the more focus there is on the utes, the more sales, the better they get, and on it goes. They're just improving almost as you look at them.
And one of the big things that a lot of YouTube commenters have put up is, where was the Amarok? And we were just like, well, we had to just cut it to three vehicles. So, the HiLux and the Ranger and the X-Class were the most important vehicles at that time.
Yeah.
In future, we might look at doing Amarok V6 versus X-Class V6 just to keep people happy, because it's the sort of thing that people want to see. And, doing different things with utes other than just seeing them sit in traffic on the highway is good fun.
Yeah, terrific.
I'm happy to do more of it.
Look, talking of good fun, again in the FCA stable, Alfa Romeo has said it's going to revive the 8C and GTV nameplates, which is exciting. So there are performance cars, quite obviously. The 8C will be like a grown-up version of the 4C. We had that limited edition 8C some years ago. This is the new version. About 700 horsepower, twin-turbo V6. The GTV will be a 4-seat all-wheel drive hybrid. And again, here's that year again, 2022.
Yep.
It's a big year. It's going to be a huge year.
But
that'd be something really to look forward to.
It really smells like a 5-year plan to me, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
But FCA always seems to have a 5-year plan every 2 years.
And then it changes.
And then it changes.
Yeah, according to circumstance.
Yeah, well,
and then they have a new... You're so right.
This latest one is Sergio Marchionne's farewell present to
Signing
them.
off.
All right, here are all these things you've got to build, guys. Good luck.
Bye.
This is insane.
I'm a champion. Look at all the good things I'm doing.
Yeah.
Good luck with it.
I don't have high hopes that much of this will come to fruition.
Yeah, and I think Alfa Romeo really has to be careful. It's not quite a Musk situation, but they really need to get what they're doing right now right.
Yeah.
The Giulia was a fantastic car. And you've got the Stelvio off the same platform, and there's other cars coming off that platform, but just get what you're doing right first.
Yeah. Rather than go with the sizzle.
Yeah.
Get the steak right first.
I really think with the 4C, it was the moment where they didn't need that car, but it was what they wanted. You know what I mean? Like, not many of those have sold.
Yeah. No.
You hardly ever see them. Is that good or is that bad? I think it's pretty bad because, theoretically, it's more affordable than, say, a Porsche.
Yeah.
And supposedly more involving to drive.
It's a really interesting one, the 4C. There's a lot of people that say it shakes the fillings out of your teeth, which it does, and that it needs power steering because the steering is quite heavy. I love it for both those things. Get it on a smooth road and it's great. Rough road, it's a bit rough, but I remember thinking of it as like reaching through the dash and feeling what the wheels were doing. It's a bit
like a Lotus in that regard.
Yeah,
That's great.
It's great.
It's so much better than not knowing at all.
I know.
Sitting in a dentist's chair and knowing that they're working away in your mouth and not being able to feel anything.
Yeah, but look, that 5-year plan, 2022, we're not done.
No,
we're not done. There's more excitement coming. Thank you, Sergio.
Right.
Maserati, the Alfieri.
Okay.
I think it was 2014 was the Geneva show. I was there, had a look at that car as a concept, absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah.
And it was going to be, a mainstream model, and the timing didn't happen. They did a bit of an Elon and overpromised. But this is the latest promise, arriving in 2022.
Wow.
It'll be a hybrid hypercar. So we're talking about Porsche 918, 918, LaFerrari, McLaren P1 kind of territory. All-wheel drive, VMAX of around 300 kmh, 0 to 100 kmh, 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
2 seconds.
That's nuts.
There you go. The Alfieri will be in force 2022.
So they're banking on tyre technology reaching a point where it can beat aerodynamics by that point then, because that's going to have to be something special to do.
Again, it could have been. So your speech is a bit short, mate.
Yeah.
We need something else. Fine, no problem. Here we go. Let's resurrect the Alfieri.
Let's just talk about
a hypercar.
Let's just talk about Maserati for a sec. How dead are some of those horses that they keep beating in terms of their sports cars? They have been around for
a long time.
A long time.
Absolutely.
For a car that's a sports car brand.
And look, that's what I'm thinking. It needs the Alfieri because that's a brand that needs a halo car again. And
it's a great point.
Like the 918. Porsche hardly needs one.
Too many Levantes and Ghiblis getting around.
Yeah.
Ghibli diesels.
And
Quattroporto diesel. You're right. They need some
Maserati is
pizzazz.
becoming the Toyota of the that Italian stable. It needs to again put itself up there.
Maserati feels like what Alfa Romeo sort of should be.
Yeah,
I think.
Yes.
They should have a sports car. They should have a sedan.
Yeah.
Should have a couple SUVs.
Yes.
Maybe
Because I
that's-
suppose in terms of the line of demarcation between them, in my mind it's reasonably clear that Maserati is a little more primo and Alfa Romeo, it's premium but not quite there. They need to kind of clear that up as well, I think.
Yeah.
Maserati. I mean, how will people feel like Maseratis have become synonymous with having fantastic sound? Like the exhaust sound of a Maserati. If you see one drive past, it makes you turn your head whether you want to or not because of the sound of the exhaust. An Alfieri electric, like hybrid electric.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those ones where
I think your point's a good one, Richard.
I
that
think,
it
does.
could be the halo that's absolutely needed.
Yeah.
Speaking of halos.
Speaking of halos, how about some words from those enthusiastic disruptors at Oversteer?
What happens when you put three hooligans together in one room? You get a podcast full of hectic banter.
Hummer is for any rugged man. This manly scent possesses a blend.
That rules me right out. Jeez.
Stupid stories.
It's a cruise ship with all the inside scooped out, water fills it up, and then you put a pirate ship in the middle. It's nothing more gangster than a ship in a ship.
You're an idiot.
And some discussion about cars.
So we've got the K cars as well. What do you guys think? There's this new Honda Sports concept there.
I think it looks so cool.
It does look a bit funky, mate.
The Oversteer Podcast on the Cars Guide website, iTunes, and where all good podcasts are sold.
Okay,
I
so
hate them.
yeah, you always say that,
know,
but do
I
you
know,
really?
one of them looked at me today and said, "You're wearing jeans."
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, you are.
I am.
He's
but
just stating
I
a fact.
always
He's a
wear
good
jeans.
reporter. He's a good reporter. That's classic reportage. Richard is wearing jeans. He was right on it.
What's wrong with him?
You've got a beard.
Richard has a beard.
You've got a face.
Anyway,
They're funny kids.
Yeah.
They're good.
Now, for want of a better word, a straight Tesla story. We've got the Roadster for 2020, and it will offer, quote, a crazy SpaceX performance pack. Richard, fill us in. What's all that about?
Look, I would get excited about this if I knew nothing about Tesla or Elon Musk, like I did the first time I drove a Tesla. But it's a little bit like waterboarding. After a while, it just becomes torture.
What is it initially?
It's you know,
It's a fun time.
It's a good night out.
fun
Really.
It's like,
And
hey,
all
this
of a
is
sudden,
great.
yeah.
Oh, it's getting a bit annoying. Oh, this is torturous.
It's dripping. Stop that dripping. Yeah, look, this is more dripping. So you might remember earlier in the year, Elon announced the Roadster. It was going to have a top speed of 1 billion kilometers an hour, and it's going to get from 0 to 100 in less than
blink of an
instantly.
eye.
Blink of an
Yeah.
eye.
Yeah.
In fact, before it started.
He's come out and actually said, it's even going to be crazier than that. And he's known for naming his packages with ludicrous names, or literally ludicrous names. For the Model S, you can get a ludicrous mode. It costs $15,000, and it increases your acceleration.
Does it cost
It costs
$15,000?
$15,000 for ludicrous mode.
That's the
So
ludicrous
it's
bit.
just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm expecting crazy mode, if that's what he's going to call it. To obviously be a fairly expensive option as well.
So does it get a solid fuel rocket?
So
That would be
originally 0 to 60 miles an hour in 1.9 seconds.
Right.
So what Elon is
is that
saying,
all?
That's all. So what he's saying is, he's tweeted, we still don't know anything, but he said it's going to be even crazier than that, and it's going to have a SpaceX package. We still don't know what that means.
Maybe that's the
It's-
couple that are due to go around the moon.
They arrive.
do it in a Roadster, a la,
Yeah.
Elon's one that's out near Mars.
Or
Cheryl and Darren, they come with it.
Yeah, they do.
Or it's going to cost $1 million,
Bucks.
and you're going to get a ticket on one of the SpaceX tour flights. Maybe.
Well, it's a nice
Possibly.
cross-branding, isn't it? Bringing SpaceX into the Tesla world.
Well, that's it. I mean, SpaceX is probably one of Elon's companies which is actually all on target and going
Seems to
really,
be.
really well.
Except for the moon bit.
Except for the moon bit. The moon bit's the only bit.
It's only a small bit.
I mean, it
of
is
the
only a
solar
small
system.
bit. Yeah. But yeah, look, we still don't know what he's talking about. We don't even know if Elon knows what he's talking about.
Nah.
I certainly
it's-
know whether or not Elon knows what he's talking about.
But anyway, expect the Roadster to be even quicker.
Yeah.
Expect the crazy SpaceX package to cost a lot more, and also expect people to actually buy it.
Right.
They will.
Buying it would be predicated on being available to buy. So we'll wait and see.
That's right.
But speaking of electric vehicles, Kia has unveiled its Nero EV, hence the fiddling while Rome burned reference, at the Busan Motor Show, and Busan being a large city in South Korea. It's an SUV about as big as a Cerato hatch. It's claimed to have a 400-kilometre range and is under consideration for Australia. So all of a sudden, the kind of enemies are gathering around Tesla. They're taking away the territory. A mainstream big brand like that, by coming out with that's pretty interesting.
It is. Kia Australia has said in the past, Damien Meredith, their COO, has said to CarsGuide that they're not looking at hybrids. Not interested. Forget it.
Right.
So they want to have petrol, diesel and electric.
Okay,
so
great.
This makes sense that they're looking at this sort of car to fill a gap in their market.
Yes.
They don't have a small SUV either, but you can forget them being able to bring it in for $28,000 or whatever, like most small SUVs.
I suppose the thing that's worth mentioning though is, and have a look at the story on our site to have some pics of the car. It looks production ready. It's not your swoopy kind of out there futuristic concept. It very much looks in the mould of a Nissan Leaf or something else that's ready to go on the showroom floor.
Yeah, and I think the regular Nero's on sale in other markets.
I see. Gotcha.
And so this is the EV iteration of it. That platform's obviously capable. Obviously, they've got the Kona electric as well.
Yeah.
So there's definitely propulsion there for both those Korean brands to push forward in the EV SUV space. And we also saw at the Busan show the new Hyundai Grandmaster, which is a larger concept SUV.
Wow.
Bigger than the Santa Fe, going to be about 5 meters long if it makes it to production.
So
it
CX-9 and Kluger territory.
Yeah. So
is that bigger than the Sensei?
You're into it.
Yeah.
White Wolf Dojo. So it's one of those vehicles where this will come to production.
Yep.
It's going to be big in the USA because they already have a bigger Santa Fe there called the Grand Santa Fe. Don't know what it'll be called in Australia, and it's undoubtedly on the list for the Australian market as well. So
great.
That is what Hyundai needs as well, because we were staring at a IMAX down in the car park, and that is really the biggest 7-seater they've currently got.
Yeah.
And that's because the Santa Fe is a great car, and is a 7-seater. But if you've ever had to sit in those third row seats, there's not a lot of room. You can't compete with Kluger. Can't compete with CX-9. It's Hyundai's missing link.
The IMAX is emphasis on the Max. It's huge.
It's massive.
The new generation model though is much better than the previous one.
Yeah.
And as you'll find out in a few weeks' time,
I'll be driving it.
It's definitely one to move the game on a little bit in that segment. But you're right. To have a slightly bigger SUV is not going to hurt them.
No way.
And I mean, forgetting things like the Terracan, which came a million years ago and was not very good.
It does feel like it's 10 years ago since that disappeared.
Yeah, exactly. So it's time for Hyundai to think about re-entering that market, I reckon.
Yeah, it's not as if they're going to cannibalise sales of their other models.
No, and it's surprising though. I would have thought that there's all this talk of a dual cab Ute from Hyundai. Maybe there'll be a rugged SUV to come off it as well. But I don't. This isn't that car. So maybe there's space for like Toyota to have a bigger SUV and then a big SUV and then another big SUV.
Yeah.
So
it's funny, isn't it? A few years ago, we were talking about how Australians are downsizing their cars, where we actually haven't.
Yeah, that's true.
We've got
true.
bigger.
Yeah.
Well, look, moving from what we'll be driving in the future to what we're driving now.
Yep.
This week in our garage, Matt, first of all, give us the word on what you've been steering.
I've been in the BT50, keeping it on the Ute theme.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, so the facelifted BT50, which has a new, more masculine front end, which is actually designed and developed and built in Australia for Mazda.
Is that right?
So they haven't touched anything metal-wise or illumination-wise, so it's just a new front
So it's
bumper.
just the front clip.
Front bumper, clip. So it's the grille and the bumper.
Yep.
It looks a bit better than before, but the headlights are still let down there.
Right.
it's begging for the next generation BT50, and that's a couple of years away. It'll be shared with the Isuzu D-Max, and so there'll probably be some big changes in terms of the way it looks.
Yeah, okay.
But you know, there's really good bits about the Mazda BT50. The price is great.
Yep.
It's fairly roomy. It's pretty comfortable, but there's also bad bits. The steering is old hydraulic system that's very, very heavy.
Righto.
And if I've asked my dad about it, you know, getting into a work ute,
Otherwise known as the Oracle.
Getting into a work ute after a full day's work using your arms, he's a tradie. You don't want to deal with heavy steering. So that's one of its biggest issues. It's got an aftermarket media system which has Apple CarPlay, which is great, first time for Mazda, but it's a piece of
Oh, wow. Wow.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's really hard to use.
That's a technical term too.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on next.
And Richard, you've been hybriding it up.
I've been hybriding it up. I'm not normally a hybriding type of guy. I've been driving a Prius V, a Toyota Prius V, and 7 seats. I sat in I'm pretty tall, 191 centimeters, and I sat in the third row. And I don't fit, but it's the second row does roll forward on rails.
Oh, okay.
So I could adjust that so that I could just fit between my driving position and then into the third row. It's a tiny car, and my son really summed it up when he's 3 years old. And put him in the back, and he goes, "Dad, this is a really big little car." And it really is. And I just got out of a BMW Alpina B7, one of the fastest cars on the planet, and then jumping into a Prius V, and it felt like I was literally getting into one of those paddle boats going around like Burley Griffin. It was it felt so slow in comparison, but it was actually so much easier to drive.
Yeah.
Your visibility is really good. The doors open really wide. Access is really good. There's plenty of room inside. There's storage everywhere.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed it
great.
from that practicality perspective.
Yeah.
And it's got a power button. So if you get tired of
the
putting
accelerator?
in EV and eco mode, you hit the power button,
right.
and it combines the electric motor and the petrol engine. And it's actually, there's enough power there to sort of, you know, if you can see the lane ending in front of you, it's enough power to sort of get in front of somebody who's not expecting you. I liked it, and I got really competitive with the fuel. I'm a competitive person, and I was trying to see how far I could drive.
What did you challenge it to?
I really wanted to get it as low as I could.
It was a fight.
It was a fight. It was a fight. I really wanted to try and get that fuel reading as low as possible, but because the way I drive and where I drive, I couldn't get it really below 5.2 in the city. But that was still going.
It's always
okay.
fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's always fun.
And
battling the trip computer.
I spent some time in that Prius V as well to shoot a video with it the last couple of days. I was at the same point. I was doing 5.2 litres per 100.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal for a car that's got 7 seats. And, you know, like you say, the packaging of it is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like, sure, you're not going to be able to fit a family of yous in there. But you might be able to
imagine a family of me's.
fit a family of, you know, Mal-sized people.
Consider that for a moment.
What have you been driving, JC?
I've been in the Mazda 2 GT. And I've got to say my expectations were a little low because the last Mazda 2 I drove, I think, was a base model like a Max or something like that. Oh, Neo. And it leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of the feel of it, the materials used inside. But this GT, I really like it. You know, it feels good. I like the steering wheel. I like the seats. And it's about 24 or so before on-road costs. 1.5 litre, I think, with a 6-speed auto. And I reckon, as a little city car, I really liked it. The quality was there too, the way it's been finished.
So the GT in their range
is second from the top.
Second from the top, which I've found with Mazda, the GT and the one, or often sometimes the second rung up, are always the best value.
I'm the same. I agree with you 100%. I'm not a huge fan of the Mazda 2. I think it's compromised where some of its competitors are better than it in some ways. But I understand why you would buy that because, like you say, the Mazda 2 GT or the top one, whatever it's called, Genki, is it?
Genki.
They both have that feel-good factor.
Yeah.
And if you're a first car buyer or someone who's just getting into a small car, and if you can justify 24 grand, I mean, you can get a lot of good
It was
cars for
little
24
things like,
grand.
okay, I put the window down and then hit it again. Oh, it's auto up as well.
Yeah.
You know, just things on a lot of economy cars that aren't there.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, I think we're pushing the clock, and it's time to say that we've reached the finish line. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
And thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
And thanks to our ace producer, Barbara, for his slick work on the buttons and sliders. I'm not saying he's an idiot, but his village called and wants him back. Which is good timing, because after close to 40 years, today is Bab's last day at CarsGuide.
40 years.
Yeah,
Yep.
thanks for the memories, and good luck with your new role in the design office at the Winton Motor Company. I think you're going to make a genuine difference there.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening, and please give us your thoughts on anything we've discussed today. Search for CarsGuide on Facebook and Instagram and use the hashtag CGPodcast, or email us at comments@carsguide.com.au. You can listen to and watch us on YouTube, and if you're an iTunes devotee, please rate and review us. I hope you can join us next week. Until then, my mate Wes was driving down a country lane and met a car coming the other way. There was plenty of room to pass, but Wes forced the oncoming car to slow down, wound down his window and shouted out, "Pig!" The other driver looked in his rearview mirror and swore at Wes as he drove past, then hit the pig.
That was terrible.